to Between the Cleats with me, Courtney Combs, and Tio on the Demon Seed Radio Network. And today we have Gary as our special guest. Hello, how are you?
Hi, Courtney. I'm great. How have you been?
Fabulous. I've missed you so.
Oh, you took the words right out of my mouth.
Oh, I have. How's Mr. Tony holding up over there?
We're doing well. You know, Tony moved to the podcast world, as I'm sure you're aware. So, just kind of finding the way, but doesn't change my gig fundamentally. I just get in there and try to be rude by his standards, which is easy.
That's what I like to do. I like to get in there.
Yes, I know, Courtney. I'm blushing. You're making me blush.
I'm sorry.
What are the rules on your podcast? Like, see, his podcast, because you know me a little bit. I mean, I can a little down and dirty, you know? But we have, like, strict rules we have to adhere to on his podcast, like certain words cannot. I mean, his podcast is sort of treated like a radio broadcast. In terms of what we can and can't say. But what about here? Are there things I could do here to get you in trouble? Because I wouldn't want to do that, of course.
You would never get me in trouble. It's hard to get me in trouble. But no, you could just, say whatever you like. It doesn't matter. I will refrain from, being too naughty with you because I don't want to mess up your persona, Mr.
Oh, you're so sweet. Yes, I have that squeaky clean image I have to maintain.
However, so what's been going on in D.C. with the sports, babe?
Well, this is kind of an interesting time. We're not really used to this, with the exception of once a few years ago when it happened. But we're in a stretch right now with like alternating hockey and basketball playoff games, and it's very exciting around here and very interesting. Although not that it doesn't come without its share of nervous moments. I mean, the Caps. I realize we're going to probably this will air a little later in the week, but the Caps right now are struggling a little bit more than they should, although the Wizards look good. And, of course, first and foremost, this is a Redskins town, so there's no shortage of talk about what's going on with the Skins and what will happen with Kirk Cousins, if anything, and people are driving themselves crazy worrying about that. But it's a very exciting time in D.C. right now for sports. And, of course, I didn't even mention the Nats, who start the season with high hopes and are playing pretty well.
So do you think that Cubs is going to go with Shanahan's son over in 49ers, or do you think that their salary cap?
Well, I very early in this process floated that idea. I actually thought there was a chance that Mike Shanahan wouldn't be the coach, but would maybe be brought on like a GM or team president capacity at San Francisco. Of course, they didn't do that. Ultimately, they did hire his coach, his son, Kyle Shanahan, to be the head coach. And Kyle, as everyone knows, at least everyone knows in D.C., I'm sure your audience is national or international, so maybe they don't know, but Kyle Shanahan and Kirk Cousins got along famously here in D.C. when Kyle Shanahan was the offensive coordinator. So there was a lot of talk that Kyle Shanahan would like to have Kirk Cousins join him in San Francisco, and of course San Francisco is in need of a quarterback. So the deal with this, the Skins have of course franchise tagged Kirk Cousins, which means they have him for next year to play in the neighborhood of $24 million. And then it's the second year in a row they've done that. So if they were to do that a third year, it would be cost prohibitive. I think his cap number would be somewhere north of $30 million. So the issue is that the Skins basically are renting Kirk Cousins this year. They have him for this 1 year, $24 million contract. They have until the league deadline, which is middle of June, or I think middle of July, to sign him to a long-term deal. If they do not do that, he can basically walk at the end of this season, and they would get nothing for him, which is troubling to me as a lifelong Redskins fan, and troubling to a lot of people. I think it's widely thought that Kirk Cousins is not crazy about the way he's been treated by management here in Washington, and that he would welcome the opportunity to kind of walk away, middle fingers extended, at the end of next year, and go get his payday in San Francisco. So that's a very gassy and long-winded way of not answering your question. So I guess your question was, do I think he's going to end up in San Francisco? I think if I had to guess, I would say a year from now when we're having this conversation, I think Kirk Cousins, let me say, I am unfortunately confident that Kirk Cousins will not be a Washington Redskin, a little bit less confident that it would be the 49ers. But there are other options, too. His old quarterback coach, John McVay, is now the head coach of the Rams, and if the Jared Goff experiment doesn't pan out this year, then maybe even the Rams are looking at him. So it's a really weird situation that such a highly rated and highly coveted player at that position would be available. But it looks like he's going to be available if they can't get a long-term deal done, and most people think that they won't.
Mm-hmm. And, Kyle Shanahan didn't do bad in Atlanta, though, so I don't have a bad taste in my mouth from him leaving D.C. However, I wish him luck in San Francisco. That's a great gig for him. I hope he does well, and I hope he has a winning team. So what's up with the Nationals, babe?
Well, the Nats, God, I'm embarrassed to admit I haven't been paying the attention I should. I mean, the Nats are off to a hot start offensively. There's questions about the bullpen, obviously, which I don't think have been sufficiently answered for most. But the Nats are loaded, man. They're stacked. And the top of the order particularly has been just absolutely hitting the cover off the ball. But DC is weird, Courtney. I mean, we've had teams who have been really good teams and haven't done it in the postseason. I mean, I mentioned the Caps earlier. They're probably most famous for it. And here's another year where they finish as the best. They finish the regular season as the best team in hockey. And there's a weird lack of confidence among the fan base that they'll do anything in this second season, in the playoff season. And the Nats have been met kind of the same fate over the years. I mean, they've had some great seasons with great talent, but there is just sort of this that people still kind of need to see it in the postseason to be really convinced. So there's nothing the Nats can do in the regular season that will kind of earn them any more credibility. I mean, sure, go win 100 games. People say big deal. I think you got a great pitching staff. You have a great lineup, a great batting lineup. So until they actually can get into the playoffs and win during football season, as far away as that seems, it's just people are not going to be impressed. It's just people. It's been a weird stretch. I don't know the stat off the top of my head, but it has been. It's been some ungodly amount of years, some 20-something amount of years, maybe it's since the early 1990s or something, since a DC team in one of the major sports has had a team even in a conference championship, let alone a world championship or a title series. So,
well, the NFC East, that was how many years ago, though?
Well, yeah, I mean, their last, that was 1990-91, I guess, right? So I think that was the last one. For the Redskins, right?
Well, I thought they won the NFC East back with RG3.
They did, and then they lost. They lost at home to Aaron Rodgers and the Packers in the playoffs. So I'm saying so no one has even had a chance to play to get to the finals. They haven't even been in the championship series. So, and it's just weird because I don't know. Maybe I'm at an age now where it's funny because I got kids who are sports fans, and they'll say things to me like, "Dad, how can you like the Redskins? The Redskins have been basically been bad their entire life." And I got a kid who's a Texans fan. I'm like, what have you ever won, the Texans? Talk to me about the Lombardi trophies and the trophy case out of Redkin Park. But for a whole generation, I mean, for people basically under the age of 30 in D.C., none of the teams have ever won anything of significance. And it's really weird because those of us who are a little older, I just turned 47. Belated happy birthday to me.
Happy birthday!
Thank you, dear. So for those of us, I mean, I grew up, and when I was a kid, all we did was win, particularly the Redskins. And of course, there was no baseball here, and the Caps were young, and the Wizards were kind of lowly. So I don't know. It's just as far as what's going on here, it's a weird climate. I mean, people walk around just sort of always waiting for the other shoe to drop. You got to temper your enthusiasm in this town. But in this year, when the Cubs won and the Cleveland Cavaliers won, maybe it's a time for miracles, if you will, in the sports landscape.
So how's the politics heading around there? Like, how does DC feel about Trump? Is
oh
it
my
different?
God, you're over my head. I mean, I'm in I'm in a state. I live in Maryland, so I'm in a state where Donald Trump got very few votes, and of course, in the immediate wake of the election, there were the protests and marches and stuff. But
yes.
you know, I honestly couldn't. I don't have my finger on the pulse. I mean, the problem is these days, like you turn on anything on television where you hope to get news, and I mean, not to get on a soapbox here or editorialize, but whichever side of the spectrum it is, it's like I get so angry at the television. You know, stop telling me what I should think. Just tell me what happened. I'll draw my own conclusions. So I don't know. I mean, you know, I'm sure it's not much